Hey, you're wide receiver Khalil Shakir, right?
I sure am, kid. Here, go long.
Whoa! You're pretty good at football, man.
And you guys are pretty good at pizza.
Oh, sick. Dude.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to this Trainwreck Sports podcast where we are here to pay the bills. It's Chiefs week. We got a full house. We got a lot to talk about. Let's get right into it. Mike Parthy, Carson Hayek, and returning Wake Jotkins, Jake Watkins, back to the program. Welcome, Wake. Welcome, Mike and Carson, back to the program. We had a interesting game on Sunday, a game that I feel like with the game that we had on Sunday, Carson could come and he could be lighting up the Bills today. I could come out and be like, I love the Bills. They're the best team in the league. Like, this is like a game where you could really go any directions with what happened in this Colts game. So let's get right into the Colts game because obviously there's a big one coming up this week that we want to get into as much as we can here. So Parthy, the Bills defeated the Colts 30-20 on Sunday afternoon. Late touchdown made it 30-20. I think that we were both, I don't remember exactly. You had a blowout score, I think, and you were pretty damn close before that touchdown. I think you had 13 on the Colts. We were all kind of in the same vein, though. That would be like a win where the Colts kind of hung around, got a late touchdown to make it closer than it looked, but the Bills would kind of control it. That's how it appears, and that's how it kind of felt for me during the game. But how did it feel for you? Because there was a lot to take away, good and bad, from the Bills' performance on Sunday.
Yeah, you look at the score itself, 20 points in the first half. You would think, oh, it wasn't really one of those first half stumbles that we've come to expect from the Bills. But keep in mind that 13 of that was offensive. We got the Teron Johnson pick six to kick it all off. So I don't want to say it was another tale of two halves, but it did seem like another time where the Bills, they only got 10 points in the second half offensively. So it's sort of a role reversal for what they usually go out and do. But one typical thing that we usually see is giving up a big play run and giving up some ground on the defensive side of the running game, and then all of a sudden just shutting it down. Jonathan Taylor had that 58-yard run. I'm trying to find the stat here. And I believe they only gave up 20 yards rushing in the second half.
Yes.
With 58 yards of his being like half of his production. Okay, Colts only rushed for 20 yards in the second half. If you remove Jonathan Taylor's 58-yard run, his other 20 carries, he averaged 2.8 yards a carry. So it's being the typical Bobby Babbitt, Sean McDermott type defense where they let you run your 15 scripted plays, they let you show your hand, and then they make their adjustments to shut you down, particularly in the second half. So I guess you can afford to do that against the mid-tier to low-tier teams that you have the offense and the weapons to outscore in one half of football alone if you don't already score maybe a couple of touchdowns in the first half, which they did get 13 points offensively on their own. I don't know how that's going to hold up against certain teams that we're going to be talking up in a second. But the defense held their own. I mean, let's take out that garbage time touchdown. It means nothing but padding Joe Flacco's stats. I mean, we gave up 13 points.
Which he needs.
That's all we let up.
He did need that, yeah.
Carson, what were some of your thoughts?
That game was atrocious in so many different ways. But I will say this. The Bills finally did show to me this year, and this is the second time that they confirmed it to me, that they can win an ugly football game. A lot of people have talked about the Chiefs and how they're 9-0 coming into this week. They've played ugly football all year, and they found a way to win. The first time we showed that to, at least to myself, was on Monday night 2 weeks back when we played the Jets and the Flagathon. So we came out, and obviously it was turnover central all over the place. But the Bills got it done. And to me, that shows signs of a very mature football team. And there was the gap of experience entering this year. And for them to come out with this game against Indianapolis, a team who is really on the downfall here this season. Flacco had a atrocious outing, turning the football over left and right. I thought that's a really good testament to this Bills defense. They've done a phenomenal job creating turnovers. And the points off of turnovers this year has also been, I believe CBS showed the stat. It's one heck of a stat. They've scored on almost every time, if not every single time this year they've created a turnover. So to me, once again, it's in the same category of the Jets game. But you get a win against a team that's worse than you should beat. 9 times out of 10, they got it done in ugly fashion, but a win's a win, and I can't complain. Big one coming up here.
Yeah, that turnover rate you're talking about, Bills are plus 13 in turnover margin. That leads the NFL, and 78 points off of turnovers also leads the NFL.
Yeah.
So, Wake, how about you? What were your impressions of the game?
I think my big takeaway is that I found myself, and it's like season long takeaway, but this kind of like completes the Thanos's amulet. I'm not a Marvel guy, but that thing, whatever the
Close
thing with
enough.
the gems
The
is.
Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah, thank you. I knew it was a gauntlet, but infinity is a word I don't even know the meaning of. But it's like I feel like we're finding that this team, for the first time, can win any type of game. I think back to 2021 when it was the year of we couldn't win a one-score game, and that Bucks loss sticks in my mind very, very vividly. Losing 33-27 to them in overtime, one of the worst losses for me, just like in a heartbreaking fashion, but. This year, we're winning the close games. We beat Miami 30-27. Like, that was not an easy win. We are blowing out teams like Jacksonville, and we are winning games. Good teams win, great teams cover. We covered the spread. We did more than what Vegas thought we should do against an inferior opponent when Josh Allen probably had one of the worst games that he has had since his first 2 years in the league. So if we can still beat a team by more than what people expect us to when almost no phases of our game are on their A game for 4 full quarters. I mean, you can come out of this game with things to complain about. There are things to be worried about, but I'm still encouraged. They're still 8-2. They got the job done. And I think maybe we could have seen them looking a bit ahead. Like I'm sure we are all looking ahead to the next game that we're going to talk about. You can't tell me that there weren't a few guys on the field that were thinking, you know what, next week we got the Chiefs. This is Joe Flacco and the Colts. Next week we got the Chiefs. Like, we still got the job done. Win's a win.
You mentioned some of Allen's poor performance. So he had that in the first half. He threw too high to Kincaid. He just missed him for what would have been a potential touchdown. There's a little factoid about Kincaid. He's had a 35% uncatchable target rate for 11 of them total. That's number one among tight ends. That was from Joe Marino of Locked On Bills.
Interesting.
Another time he had a poor throw where he was intercepted by EJ Speed. Was he hit on release? Some people were trying to dissect that on the replays. And then he got intercepted on that one throw that could have gone for a pick six if the defender wasn't pushed out of bounds. He was definitely going the other way if his momentum hadn't carried him out of bounds. So Allen got away with one or two things there today, or missed on some things that would have made even more of a difference in a still very decisive game.
Carson, I know you wrote about it today, but give a little insight into what you saw on those 2 interceptions. Like, were they the second one is obviously Allen's fault. I don't really know what he was seeing on that. And it was a great break by Kenny Moore. I don't know if he thought he was going to close that quick. Maybe that's all it was. And arm arrogance is a word that you could use for that kind of throw as well. But the first one, what do you think happened there?
So, I mean, on the first one, Brady calls, what is it? I believe first and 10. So it's 1st and 10. Brady comes out with that shot play on play action. They're going to try to take a shot down the field. I believe it's Curtis Samuel who's on the left. He's running the clear out. I believe it was a deep post he ran, and they had the crosser with Shakir. So that's a high-low concept. I'm willing to bet off of what the film showed. The safety went with Curtis Samuel. I mean, Shakir was open. He created separation. It was a nice play design. But I would like to see Allen get the ball out a little bit quicker there. I thought he took 1 or 2 more hitches than he needed to take in that drop back. And it does appear when he released that ball, just before he got the ball off his hand, it looked like might have been Grover Stewart. I forgot exactly who it was up front, but it looked like he just got a piece of Allen. He wasn't able to completely follow through with the throw. So that's one. I don't think it was going to be completed anyway, even if he wasn't touched there. It just didn't look like a good throw to begin with. But that's one that I'd put a little bit on the line, but more on Josh. And the second one, I mean, Kenny Moore is just a phenomenal slot cornerback, using the curl to flat window there. And it looked like, right off the bat, it looked like Curtis Samuel was there, but the best will make that, appearance look like that, and then they'll take the ball away. Kenny Moore baited that, turned around, caught the end of the football. I mean, that should have been a pick six, let's be honest. But earlier in the season, guys were not catching that on the defense. I mean, the Houston game sticks out to me blatantly. Allen should have thrown 3 interceptions that game. One hits, I forgot exactly who it was, right in the numbers. I'm not overly concerned. He was without his best receivers in Amari Cooper and Keon Coleman that game. Yeah. So that when
Kincaid
we're
was
not
hurt
gonna,
for a little bit too.
Yep. We're not gonna have Keon this week, obviously, but assuming Amari, even though he's got I believe he still got the what do you call that on the wrist, the splint. He's probably gonna play through that. He should be. It'll be nice to at least have him out there. Some guys should get open a little bit more. So hopefully he plays because this offense kind of needs it. Khalil Shakir can't do it all, so let's hope Kincaid's healthy too because we need anything we can possibly have for this Sunday.
Yeah, and I believe the status update for Kincaid was day to day yesterday, right? So he's at least going to practice and try to make it work. So nothing. I'm glad that it was, when you see a guy going off with a knee injury at all, just worried immediately. He did go back out to try to tough through it, which admirable, but clearly couldn't put anything on it there. So yeah, we'll be watching that this week. I would also imagine Cooper goes this week, and even if they have to limit his snaps some wait time through the game, it'd be tough not to see him out on the field there. Now what is this? The offensive coordinator from the Colts talking about Josh needs to be tested immediately. For like a concussion testing? Did I miss this? Did you guys see this? Sunday?
I did not see that.
I don't know where he would have gotten hit in that.
Are they still going off about the Texans game? Like, what are we doing here?
Tested for what? For steroids?
That's what I'm wondering. Is it Joey? Let us know if he. For performance enhancing drugs. No, I did not see it.
Oh, okay. Yes. No. I mean, yes, he probably should be, to be fair.
It was probably tongue in cheek, I assume.
Yeah.
You don't say incendiary things like that and get away with it.
Josh might have gotten the surprise test the next day for all we know. It's never
possible.
Surprise. So whatever. Do you have any last thoughts on this Colts game at all?
I mean, you touched on the receiver part of it too. Like, the offense was able to score 30 points without their top two weapons. There's really not a whole lot for me to take away from this game. It kind of went exactly as I thought it would. Indianapolis, not the easiest place to play, even when, Bills Mafia travels as well as it did. I feel like I knew 30 people that were in that stadium, to be completely honest with you. But yeah, no, it feels like it's a quick recap because it went just about as I expected it to. And now I have no idea what to expect for this next game coming up because I told myself yesterday, if Keon Coleman and Amari Cooper are both out, I don't care what happens. And now that I know Keon is definitely out, I almost still don't care what happens. So let's see what you guys think.
All right. Well, that's a great segue to get into what we're talking about. But we have – go ahead.
Before we segue, I want to do my usual complaining about the officiating, showing these over
vicious jerk.
All right, so let's start with the Rasul Douglas illegal contact on Colts 3rd and goal play. We didn't see, I don't know if this is on CBS for us not being able to see the replay, but a lot of people were saying that was a bad call. And did anybody see anything on a replay on a all 22 to confirm whether that was legitimate?
I don't think it was a penalty.
Don't think it was a penalty.
Yeah,
it's very convenient when CBS decides not to show the penalty.
I think they seem to be known for that anyway.
Yeah.
And we also got a block in the back to Teron that was missed, that wasn't called, that led to a Colts field goal. Okay. Then of course we got this number 54 Dayo Odengabo. I can't. I'm gonna butcher his last name. Just call him Dayo. Dayo. He's punching. Well, he's seemingly punching Josh Allen on this 4th and 1 sneak play that the pile is moving, and the refs aren't blowing the whistle to because everybody's moving and momentum isn't being stopped just yet, and he's throwing the punches right there. Now, upon further review, I will say he got 2 punches in. The first one was clearly to Josh's arm. The second one was a little bit higher, and I think, if I see it correctly, I'm pretty sure that the force perspective is making us think he's punching to the side of Josh Allen's helmet when he's really just hitting his upper arm, and he's not really making contact with Josh Allen's helmet, as it seemed like it was happening in real time. He might still get fined by the league for just punching another player in the first place. You can try to peanut punch the ball out, but that was a little bit
it was bad optics. Regardless of where it was connecting, it was bad optics.
But the biggest bad optic would be So Josh Allen gets tackled out of bounds by a Colts player. Spencer Brown goes up to that said player. I don't remember who it was. And he just gets in his face and he talks a little bit. He actually gets pushed back by that Colts player. And he's the one called for unsportsmanlike contact. Now, what kind of a chicken call is that?
That's the most chicken call I've ever seen. That is the most chicken call I've ever seen.
That's outstanding.
Yeah, I mean, come on. What are we even talking about here?
The chicken call of the game, perhaps.
There you go.
Where you're going with there. I like it.
I will say I am happy they didn't call the penalty on them taking Josh out of bounds. I did not think that was penalty worthy. I thought it was defend your quarterback worthy. I don't think it was penalty worthy. So I'm happy that Josh Allen gets all the ref calls. Crowd was able to stay silent for a day, so we can be thankful for that.
Real quick though, what does anyone ever know what happened on the Codrington fumbles the football in the second quarter? The whole Colts sideline comes off on the sideline. I think it was Ty Johnson who wanted to get into a scrap. He's getting like mauled by 8 guys, a flag's thrown, and they pick it up. I don't know what that was all about. Never got an explanation on that from anybody on Twitter. So.
I couldn't believe they picked up the flags. I couldn't believe they didn't get these 2 guys and just be like, all right, you guys get unsportsmanlike.
Right? So, I don't know.
They figure it was offsetting penalties. It wouldn't have mattered anyway.
Your job, though.
And it was after the play, so it would have been a replay.
It was crazy. I don't understand how they figure out who has the ball and then decide like the possession is ended. We're done here. And then you got 2 guys, like they gave possession to one guy. The broadcast had another guy, and then a third guy from the Colts is the guy who actually runs out with the ball and tries to celebrate. I was like, no one knows what's going on. Yeah, like they're just guessing. They're like, all right, the scrum stops now, and then wherever you can see the ball next, it is. It's crazy. So it was a wild. I have no idea what happened there, Carson. It was a wild. It was someone tweeted it was like the craziest scrum they'd ever seen in like NFL history. So that's like, I mean, I don't know about that, but it was a wild time, and it was a long time.
I was listening to WGR when that went down because I was driving to my friend's house, going there for the second half of the game, and I'm just like, I get in my car, I'm like, what the hell did I miss? I've been outside of the house for 2 minutes right now. Like,
I'm sure we all have those plays that we were listening to GR and we're like, what actually happened there? You want my best one of that was Thanksgiving against the Cowboys. I was driving from family to family's house, and I just heard the Josh Allen QB sneak. So I was going to say that's got to be the play. It's got to be. I'm like, I heard fumble, and then I heard first down. Were like the 2 words back to back, and I'm like, I don't know what just happened. This is straight chaos. So it's always fun to get those moments. You're hearing a fumble scrum on a Sunday. You're like, what is going on? They're fighting like on the side. Ty Johnson's about to get into a fight. No penalties. What the hell is happening out here? Crazy. We got some comments here from Joey. So thanks for chiming in, Joey. Want to shout you out here. Yeah, he said the coach from Wyoming said, look at Josh Allen's tape going back to the performance enhancing drug accusations there. So yeah. Teams are just jealous of seeing Josh Allen out there running. You see him in person, it's got to be crazy. The other side, mentioning about the referees, used to be a part-time gig, now full-time job and betting and everything. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of implications with the referees nowadays. They could still be doing that job better than they ever are. And then a question for us: what do you guys think about the 21-day window opening for Matt Milano? I've always thought Matt Milano was coming back in like December. So I think this is just kind of along the path of the plans here. Maybe even Sunday Night Football. I mean, he gets this week and then a bye, and then you get him in for that game. That'd be a great way to get him going.
Mm-hmm. I think that's exactly the plan. I mean, if you look at the timeline, it just makes all the sense in the world. I wish that the 49ers and the Chiefs games were flipped. I really, really do. Like, I'm sure all of Bills Mafia would. Because it would be so much better to have Milano back for the Chiefs to cover, whether it's Noah Gray or Travis Kelce or whoever the hell they're going to be putting in the slot, because I don't know what that team does on offense, really. I don't think they know what they do on offense all that well. But I think the writing's on the walls for him to make a big comeback on Sunday Night Football.
That's a great point, Wake. I will bring up, though, the Niners are very similar in how they run an offense as far as motion goes. They got Kittle. Not to go down Kittle. Not a completely. I don't want to go down this street just yet, but I am concerned that Milano just might not be the player he once was. He hasn't really played a regular season game in what was 2 years, I think. So Dorian Williams, he's been phenomenal this year. I would love for him to stay on the field. I don't know exactly what their plan is with who's going to come out, what usage they're going to do, what personnel, but to me, I don't want to say he's got a short leash when he's inserted back into the starting lineup, but there's guys who've made some plays, and if you're not 100% or you're not the player that you once were, and it's not even really his fault, it's just that's the injury bug, it'll get you. You gotta at least give it some thought. We still have yet to see him play, so who knows how he plays. But Dorian Williams, shout out to you, man. It's been a masterclass. So.
Yeah,
Carson, I'll give you 130. I don't know if he's going to be in the starting lineup for the remainder of this year. Depending, he might have to be a thing where his play on the field unseats Williams because Williams has been so good. This is a guy, as you mentioned, the injury history, and he's on the rock, he's 30 years old. He'll be 31 by the start of the next season, I think. And you have a young guy who started a whole year. It's probably going to be a competition next year. And it's nothing against Milano, but I think once those injuries start racking up like this, it's a real question on how durable.
I think we have to keep in mind that this is a totally different position than Trey White, where he was hampered by not one but two season-ending injuries, where you have to have all the athleticism, the agility, the speed in the world to keep up with world-class receivers. Matt Milano is more of an instinctual player. He doesn't make these plays based on speed and size. He knows where to be, he's basically a ball hound when he's at 100%. I don't think it's going to take as much time for him to get up to speed. And also based on the nature of injuries that Trey White had as opposed to Matt Milano, I don't think it's going to take that much longer for Matt Milano to get back up to speed. And Dorian Williams has been serviceable, more than we expected of him. But Matt Milano is the guy I think we need at 100% to really make this defense full strength.
Yeah. Joey chiming in here saying that he believes that the injury will be pain, where the fracture is on his bone will cause pain for his life. I did see that about the injury too, but then that's just pain tolerance for the guys. Like he can, if he can handle the pain tolerance and it's nothing like messing with his structural or lateral movement or anything, like I think he's going to be willing to do whatever he has to do to get back on the field and go do that. And even if it is a situation where it's 80% Matt Milano, that's a pretty damn good football player. I don't think Trey ever even got close to 80% after the injuries. So, and that's no shade towards Trey. That's just, those are two.
I wonder what Kyle Trimble's been saying about Matt Milano's type of injury and potential recovery.
Yeah, I haven't seen
much about that yet.
No, but let's get into it. There's a game on Sunday that we got to talk about.
From a team with a horseshoe logo to a team with apparently a horseshoe up their ass. You know?
And
it was really awesome that Pat Mahomes blocked that field goal to solidify his MVP case. Like, not a lot of quarterbacks are doing that. Can we just talk about that for a second? Like, that's incredible.
It was pretty impressive. I was watching the whole time on the sidelines, and he directed it all. It happened because of him.
He called up protections and everything. You know, it's great.
It is going to be a narrative fest there, but
what would you rather be than right here, right now?
Great call.
I don't care anything about this. Whatever you want to talk about, playoff, standings. If we don't beat them in the playoffs, all this other stuff. The Kansas City Chiefs are 10-0. And we can ruin their undefeated season, and we can be 8-2, and then get back within one game. Then we can start talking about all the implications of the playoffs and anything. But we posted it, or it was can't remember who posted it earlier. Maybe it was Field Yates. Trying to think of the name there. Field Yates posted from ESPN that this is only the 5th matchup since the merger of two teams with over 8 wins prior to or in Week 11. It's the last 3 games have actually included the Chiefs, which is terrifying. Not even Mahomes Chiefs teams one of those either. It was Chiefs Broncos in 2013 with Alex Smith that did this. Mahomes and the classic Chiefs Rams Monday Night Football game was one of these matchups, and now here we are with Buffalo and Kansas City. So as much as I want to talk about the stakes and everything and how this game matters, and Parthy, I do want to ask you about what you thought about the Denver result and everything else as it pertains to the playoff picture. For me, this game matters more because I just don't want these guys to be undefeated coming out of Highmark Stadium. Like I can't sit and listen to the rest of the year's discourse from NFL media if that were to be the case. It's really nothing to do. It's not going to give me any other value besides personal pride in the Buffalo Bills, but I really need them to end this undefeated stuff right now because we can't go the rest of the year. If you look at that Chiefs schedule, this is the best chance to get it done, like truly. And that's obvious. That's an obvious statement because the Bills are obviously one of the best teams in the NFL, but the Chiefs don't have, they play the Chargers. I think they maybe play the Broncos again.
Yeah, let's do our own Howard Simon pick the Bills here with the rest of the Chiefs schedule here. Okay, so they got after the Bills, the Panthers, next.
Oh,
The
that's
Raiders
trap
at home, the Chargers at home.
tough.
They're going to take on the Browns, who weren't exactly as good as we thought they were. The Texans at home. They're going to play the Steelers, who are, purveyors of their own BS, as
In
it usually
Pittsburgh,
is.
which is at least
Yeah.
interesting about that for Christmas.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then they finish off with the Broncos again. So, I mean,
Chargers,
I
Steelers,
can't see a loss in there.
Broncos.
The Chargers are going
No,
to
I
charge
could.
themselves into another loss. We know
The
this.
4 of the last 5 games aren't though. That's a pretty good win percentage, though. If we take
is.
out the Cleveland Browns,
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah.
it's a
If you
decent.
take away the Cleveland Brown of it all, it's actually a tough schedule to end the year.
So it is, but
Which
if
means
they're
we'll go
rolling,
undefeated, but still.
exactly right. Like it means Russell Wilson's going to throw 5 picks or something like that, and it's going to be crazy. So it's the best chance going into it.
Would we rather beat them? Obviously, we'd rather beat them in the playoffs to get over that schneid and to get over one of the biggest hurdles on our way to the Super Bowl. But would we rather them go into the playoffs undefeated and end them that way? In their undefeated season that way in the playoffs?
Yes.
Guys.
Yeah, a million. Can I hit the button? Where's the
Yes.
button? What button do I hit? Is it the leave studio button? Do I hit that button? I'm gonna hit that button. Like, oh my god, absolutely. That would be way more gratifying.
Parthy, now you're talking. Now this is.
Yeah, your galaxy brain. That's a Jimmy Neutron brain blast. By
yeah.
Parthy
If we
right
could do
there.
the meme right there, that's the bottom one. Bills end the undefeated streak in the playoffs.
I love that.
Hmm.
I hope we lose. I think
yeah,
I want
now
to
you
lose.
kind of want to lose.
You know what? I hope. You know what I hope? We're without Keon Coleman. We're still going to be without Matt Milano for the time being. There's a small part of me that hopes we're without Amari Cooper and Dalton Kincaid.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, it would be great enough
This is
if we
real
were to
sicko
still
right
find a
here.
way to win anyway.
Keep going.
But even if we lost, they'd be facing a whole different team in the playoffs than they'd be facing right now. And it would be like, how many times? Last 3 years we've been beating them in the regular season. Let me take you guys back on a history lesson because you've heard this stat probably already. The last time the Bills went 8-2 was 1993. They beat the Colts to do that. And what happened the very next week? They lost to the Chiefs. Those were Joe Montana's Chiefs, mind you. And then the Bills went and beat Joe Montana's Chiefs in the AFC Championship game to go to the 4th Super Bowl in a very decisive game, knocking Montana out of that one. But the crazy thing is, during that 4-year Super Bowl run, almost the exact same thing happened 2 years prior. The Bills went to 91. They started 5-0. They met the Chiefs on Monday Night Football, I believe, and they got blown out like 33-6 or something like that. They would, of course, run the 13-3 record, and they go into the divisional round. They hosted the Chiefs, and I think they won 37-14. It was the exact opposite of the decisive score that happened earlier. And the Bills fans were infamously doing the chop to the Chiefs players all throughout that game. Something we should probably get rid of anyway. But I digress. But this thing was happening over and over, where the Chiefs would beat us in the regular season, we'd beat them in the playoffs, and now the exact opposite has been happening the last couple of years.
You know, I would like to formally apologize to this one girl that was at Mr. Goodbar on Saturday night, because she was talking astrology for a very long time, and the entire time I was thinking, how do you believe in this shit? Like, this shit makes no sense. But after you just went down that rabbit hole, I'm like, you know what? I think I'm an astrology guy now. Like, they're like the same damn thing. Like,
the stars are aligning.
Yes, Micah, go off.
The stars are aligning. But I'm sold. The second he said Colts and Chiefs back to back, I was sold. I was like, this is history repeating itself all over again. It's just our time in the
I think we're
astrological
generally
cycle.
agreed here that this game really doesn't mean too much. I mean, we'd love to be able to end the undefeated season here. Yep, thank you very much, Slick.
There you go, Slick.
And we'd very much like to, get one over them in the regular season again for whatever it's worth. I mean, obviously, Nick Wright's going to come out and, raise our September championship banner that we think we're supposed to be raising. But I mean, how much if we lose this game, regardless of what personnel we have on the field, are we really going to be that, torn up about it?
Can I take your galaxy brain further?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Can I take it one step further before you do that? What if Sean McDermott is thinking that with all these injured players, the same line as you? Like, why would I play these guys hard in this game? Why would I not just make them sit, go out there, don't show them anything? We're up 5 games in the division anyways. What do we care about this?
So he's going to take it one level further. Instead of being a base defense in the first half and letting them show their hand and then making adjustments in the second half. He's going to save those adjustments for a whole game, for the division or championship round. He's going to not wait. He's not
just
do the
run man to man. Don't even run
He's
a
going to
deep.
save
Just
them for the
run
next
man to
game.
man. Line them up and say, all right, let's just go. Let's just play it out. Like, don't give them anything. We're joking about this, but this might be like a gamesmanship thing that Sean McDermott should be talking. They should be talking about.
But has he learned to do that kind of gamesmanship by now?
That's the difference between him at this point, I think, because they've unloaded the clip in years past to beat the Chiefs. Like, remember, we're getting trick plays a couple years ago and stuff like that. Like, we're getting everything to get those games because probably it in the line the thing that we were thinking too. Get the 1 seed, beat this team now. You'll have the inside track at the 1 seed. They aren't going to get that from winning this game. And we just talked about the road for the Chiefs. They'd have to lose, at least one more of those. But that's just considering if the Bills all of a sudden are 15-2, which I think we can all agree that we don't expect them to go undefeated the rest of the year. So it's like it's a tough task for them to overtake them. So are you thinking about January? Like, are you truly, they say we're trying to, peak in December and January. Do they mean that? Carson is disgusted by this.
No,
He hates this conversation.
Come on. This is we're getting ridiculous. We're going down the Aaron Rodgers conspiracy theory rabbit hole right now.
Whoa. It's very ridiculous. Bright in here. No darkness.
So we're not even, no one's guaranteed anything. I mean, we aren't even guaranteed to make the playoffs yet, although we are. Let's face it, we're in the easiest division of football.
Playoffs?
But let's be honest, the Chiefs, there is an argument to be made. They're a little fraudulent. They're not as good as their record says. They played their last 3 games. I guess you can consider, luckily, have won because the last 3 have been 1-score games. The Tampa Bay game going to overtime. The last one is ridiculous. The Broncos should have won that game. So who says? Like the Steelers, I believe it was 2020 and 2021 season.
They were 11-0. Yeah,
they were 11-0.
We knew they were paper tigers.
Yep, they lose.
Same with the Eagles.
The 1 seed,
year.
I believe. So the Eagles, the same way. There's so much season left, guys. Like, come on. Like, we might not even play them in the playoffs. We might not even make it out of the first round. They might not make it out of the first round. The bye week this week, to me, is an extremely important game because when you look at history, the 1 seed and the bye week is so important if you're trying to make a run for the Super Bowl, which is why this week is so important. That's why CBS is coming to Bills Mafia to experience the tailgate to watch the Bills win Sunday. That is why it's going to happen. So to me, it's just I wouldn't buy into that all that much because let's face it, although there's going to be some preservation of players if they're not 100% and there's a re-injury risk to that element, they're probably not going to play. They know they have a long way to go in the season. Playoffs are extremely important. There's more important games in the future. With that said, right now, though, this is the most important game on the Bills' schedule to this date and possibly the whole season until playoffs.
You know what? To your point, Carson, the one thing about the one season that we see that we always forget nowadays, it is home field advantage, but it's also the only week off that any team on either conference gets. But let's delve into how fraudulent the Chiefs might be or how lucky they might be. So to your point about 1-score games, 7 of their wins this season have been 1-score games. 1 win was by 10. Their largest margin of victory was 13. They're only averaging 19th. They're only 19th in yards per play this season, but in areas that they're strong, they are number 1 in third down conversions. They're number 1 in plays per drive, and they're number 1 in time of possession per drive. They had 4 10-play drives this past game on Sunday. They have 26 on the season. That's the most in the NFL, and they've outpossessed their opponents by about 57 minutes in their last 5 games alone. So they've been basically dinking and dunking the way that teams have been daring them to do, not unlike teams have been daring Josh Allen to do. But they're even with their injuries to Rashee Rice and all these other guys, they're finding ways to do it. And even though Mahomes is having somewhat of a mid-season, even for him, he's finding ways to do this. And of course, they've got an elite defense with Chris Jones, and I think they added one other pass rusher at the deadline.
I believe so. Yeah, it was. I forgot who it was.
And who was the guy they added from the Titans?
Oh yeah.
It might have been
Arden Key. No, he's still on the Titans. He didn't get moved.
No, they added a receiver from the Titans, and they added a pass rusher from that.
Well, they added Hopkins, yeah.
Yeah.
and he's just starting to get going. And
Anudike Uzama, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you
yeah,
go.
that was
Thank
the
you,
guy.
thank you.
So they've only added to. I mean, we added, of course, Amari Cooper, and we've only seen on a couple of games what he can do as far as production or drawing attention away. But KC is just they're in other teams' heads because they're just this monster. Patrick Mahomes, he's got that Tiger Woods aura where you're playing next to him and he's just psyching you into your worst tendencies. But
Parthy
I mean,
just
the Chiefs
aura.
are very much seemingly like that Steeler team of a couple of years ago, where we knew they weren't what their record said they were. But unlike the Steelers, the Chiefs have the resume to back up,
Exactly.
their intimidation factor.
Okay. One question for you, quick,
Yeah.
Mike, though. And this might go into your point here, so jump into that too. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but if the Chiefs could not be an undefeated team and one of the best teams in NFL history, that might not be true. But are they still the best team in the NFL? Because those two things could be, that they could exist at the same time, where we're like, they're not as good as everybody's saying they are, but they're still the best. But go into what you were going to say and then jump on that.
I mean, the Lions could be right there with them, the Ravens and us, and the 49ers if they were healthy, but their 49ers are still finding ways to win with duct tape and silly putty holding together their offense as it is. Mind you, all these one-score games, they lost their opening game by a toe, and they lost this past game by a blocked field goal. And how much different would this number one seed race be if you just in an alternate, TVA, alternate timeline, you just flip those two little things, and all of a sudden we're neck and neck. And this game is gonna, and this game probably means even more. But one thing I want to touch on, our old friend from the draft, Xavier Worthy, not been having the best season, but maybe not by his own fault, because I think I touched on how Dalton Kincaid is seeing uncatchable targets. Xavier Worthy's leading the league at uncatchable target rate at 41%, including 4 deep shots that Mahomes took on him and didn't connect.
Wow.
That one last week was bad.
Yeah.
Really bad.
Mahomes' completion percentage when he's targeting Xavier is 48% completion percentage. Everybody else on that team is 73% collectively.
That's tough. That is tough. And then further on Worthy, he's got did you say 6% catch percentage for Worthy too?
41% of his targets are uncatchable.
Yeah, it's been rough for the rookie. It's been rough. It's been rough for this offense all year long, and that's why I'm wondering, Wake, I'll go to you then to Carson. What do you expect the Bills to do offensively in this game to attack this Chiefs? Because this is the thing about this Chiefs team is it's flipped. Everybody just talks about the Chiefs and they're like, oh, it's Mahomes and Kelsey and everything else. If you're just tuning into this game as Sunday afternoon, that's what you're thinking. Chiefs defense is scary though. They're terrifying.
Yeah, no, the Chiefs defense is terrifying, genuinely. Yeah, it feels like the roles have kind of switched on this team a little bit, where the defense is keeping them in games that they shouldn't be in necessarily sometimes. I'm sorry, did you ask about how we attack their offense or about
how would we attack their defense? Yeah. What do you expect to see from Allen and everybody?
I feel like it's going to have to be a very disciplined game, which I think we have started to. Maybe not this past week, or for portions of this past week. Honestly, we did after the struggles that Allen had with the picks. But it's going to have to be very disciplined, take what the defense gives you kind of thing. It's going to have to be old-fashioned, NFC East almost style of football, of establishing the run. Their run defense isn't spectacular. It is susceptible, and James Cook has had success against them in the past. And now we do, for a change, have another running back that we can rely on. So I think we're going to see Ray Davis and James Cook both maybe in double-digit carries, to be completely honest. And it's honestly there's not a lot of places in that secondary you genuinely want to attack. That's what's terrifying about it. Trent McDuffie is one of the best secondary players in the entire NFL. Brian Cook, not a safety to exactly shake your head at or anything. So I think that it's going to be a long drive sustaining, chewing clock, low scoring kind of game. And I think it's going to be like that on both sides, to be completely honest.
Actually, Wake, sorry not to step on you, Carson, but talking about the Chiefs' run defense, they're actually third in the league in run defense with 83.2 yards allowed per game. Their passing defense is a little bit more mid. They're 14th overall in the league. I
Put
believe
some numbers out there. Thank you.
206 yards passing per game. So they do have one of the top 4 defenses, but it's mostly based on their run defense than passing. Go ahead, Carson.
Parthy,
Gotcha.
I
Okay.
appreciate
Thank you,
you
Mike.
bringing that up because I was just about to bring that up myself. That is, they got a solid defense. Don't get me wrong, but this is a game where I think you can't be intimidated by that at all, and you can't limit your offense at all just based off of what you see on film against them. This is a game where you're going to have to open it up, let Josh Allen rip the football. I would say 30, 40, 50 times. I don't want to touch 50, but if we have to, we have to. This is a game where you have to get your best playmaker, which is Josh Allen, the football in his hands, and let him just cook. They're 14th in the pass. That's the one area in their defense where they're a little susceptible, alongside, and the red zone defense are 13th in the league. So, to me, you're going to have to at least show that you're willing to run the football just enough for them to be honest about it. But this is a game where you're going to have to open the field up a little bit of emptiness. You're going to have to bring guys in, though. I will say that they blitz a lot. I believe they're top 10 in blitz rate defensively. So you're going to have to you can counter that by either opening the defense up, getting the ball out quick, or you can bring a few extra guys in, and that's certainly possible. But if they don't have Kincaid, that makes things a little difficult. So Reggie Gilliam is probably the next guy up as long as he's healthy. So for me, you got to let Josh Allen rip the football down the field. You can't limit yourself in any other way. And you just got to be, in my opinion, you got to be extremely aggressive to win this football game.
Do you think that mindset changes depending on how many playmakers they have available for this game with Kincaid and Amari's status in question?
If everybody's out, then of course it does. If everybody's out, of course. If Kincaid is out, you're going to have to run the football a little bit more. But if they have Kincaid and Cooper, there's no excuse. I want to see them air it out.
It's too bad they don't have some receiver depth. Like I heard about this guy MVS who was doing pretty well in New Orleans. I think he's catching these long, big bombs. I wish we could have picked up that guy on like waivers or something like that.
That would be nice.
Yeah, that would have been nice to see him.
Jalen Virgil season though.
It is. Mm-hmm. That's a pull away. I love that.
It is going to be interesting to see who goes and who doesn't. Tomorrow will tell us a lot about the status of the weapons and everything else. I'm like right in between you guys where I think, Carson, I think they're going to come out aggressively with Allen. I don't think they're going to be. I think that it's going to be get pressure with that front four and get pressure on him and have him scrambling a little bit. That's what I'm worried about with this. It's that's something that he's been able to dial up. Spagnuolo he's awesome at this. Like Spagnuolo, one of the best defensive minds in my lifetime for sure. And I'm just worried that we've seen times this year where Allen, the line is under siege a little bit and Allen's scrambling a little more than you'd like to see him. That's what I'm worried about in this game if they do go with that attack. So I think it forces into their hand a little bit, but I think that they are now unique. This is the Bills' most balanced and uniquely suited offense where if there's a game where they're kind of forced and the quarterback's running around, they can slow that down because Cook and Davis, and I think we get a lot of Ray Davis again this week too. I was surprised by lack of involvement last week, but a lot of runs for Allen last week too. But I wouldn't be surprised if that they can lean, knowing that they can lean on that, shift to that, pretty quickly, depending on how the line holds up against Spagnuolo and what they're throwing at him and Allen. Because the Chiefs could also look at it this ways where they don't want to show all the exotic blitz packages and everything that they could go, not even just for the Bills, but we talked about the rest of their schedule. They still have a lot of division games, everything else. So I do think it's a game where if we want to get into prediction times and everything, I think it's going to be in the 20s. I think that's where we'll hang around. I'll go first and I'll give it to you, Mike. And then you can add anything else you want in this game and give your prediction, and then we'll go around the horn. I do think you go. You want to go? You want me to go?
You go.
Okay. This game, you got to just relish the moment of it first. That's what I was trying to get at when I first started this out. Like I said earlier, the stat from Field Yates, this is a game that has only happened 5 times in NFL history since the merger. So almost, I can't do math like that right off the top of my head. Almost 55 years since the merger. And this is the 5th time a game like this happened with this kind of stakes. And none of those games, I don't know about the games in the 70s, but at least the last two editions have also the hype and aura around the Allen's Mahomes match too, which is basically our Brady Manning of this generation. I think that it's fair to say that it's maybe not the same, matchups and successes and everything MVP wise on the field, whatever, but from how we talk about these two quarterbacks and the name that goes each with them, it feels like that. So just enjoying the momentous occasion of a Sunday afternoon, a lone window, Jim Nance, two of the best teams in the NFL, eyes centered on Orchard Park. I'm going to enjoy the hell out of that. Going to the football game, as we said, I think it's going to be in the 20s. This is big boy football. These teams built through the trenches. That's where they're going to want to win this game. And I think it comes down to a field goal at the end for our boy Tyler Bass to whip the Bills over the Chiefs 27-24.
The irony.
I'm seeing a similar game, but I'm a little bit more. If bullish is good, then bearish is bad, right? I'm a little more bearish on this game.
Yes,
especially with the offensive injuries going in, and of course the Chiefs BS. That content creator Urinating Tree on YouTube.
Yes,
yeah.
He's a big Steelers fan, and he always talks about the Steeler bullshit because teams shoot themselves in the foot. They make turnovers. There are these crazy plays that give the Steelers the win, and teams just make their own mistakes. And the Steelers, with their high end talent, one or two guys like J.J. Watt or whoever, or T.J. Watt, I'm confusing them, and they always find a way to win games. Like they went 11-0 a couple of years ago, and they're going 8-2, and I can't even name 2 or 3 all-star caliber players on that team right now, but they're just going to find a way to have winning season every year until the end of time. The Chiefs are on that same kind of BS right now where they're just finding ways to win games in incredibly stupid ways. And if we were at full strength, I could see us just, winning by a score or 2 even. But we're still a little bit flawed. We're good enough to beat the bad teams. We're good enough to win ugly games against mid teams. But for the time being, until we get, until all the players come back through the portals and it's like the end event. I'm not going to spoil. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody that hasn't seen it, but it's like the ending of a very great movie that we've all seen from a big franchise where everybody comes back that you thought was dead, and you finally defeat the bad guy at the end. But for the time being, we got to go through our Infinity War here. Chiefs 24, Bills 21, and I fear it's going to be on a Harrison Butker last-minute field goal. That's
Parthy, you bring up a lot of good points, and I hope I don't get clipped for this, and it turns out it's a bad prediction, but both teams are feeling really good about themselves. The Bills have won their last 5, Chiefs undefeated. I think the Bills, though, right now are in a better spot, at least in the mental part of the game than the Chiefs are. The Chiefs' offense, as far as their offense is concerned, they don't scare me as much as they used to. They're ranked 10th in the league, 9th in the pass, 21 in the run. But you got to get a stop on third down. They have the number 1 third down offense. So you at least have to get them under that 50% threshold if you want to have a chance. You gotta take some risks in this game. You got to take shots on the field. Defensively, you have to show some of those exotic looks here. And you got to let Josh be Josh, like I said before. Open the run game up for him a little bit like they have. They've done a nice job with that in the past. But here's the ultimate prediction. There's a reason CBS is coming to Buffalo. Buffalo 38, KC 21.
Wow.
Yeah, I think this is the week the Chiefs, the legacy run ends.
Wow.
Carson for the Bills, no less.
This is crazy. This is the craziest turn in Pay the Bills podcast.
I just got that feeling.
I like it. Run with it. Roll with it.
You got a good feeling about this, Skywalker?
Great feeling about the.
I was fully prepared to pick the Chiefs to win in my first return to this program, and I just can't do it. The game script for me is the Bills' red zone defense has been very, very solid. That classic bend don't break Sean McDermott mentality. I think the Chiefs are going to outgain us by yards by a lot, but I think we're going to maybe be able to stop them. I think Harrison Butker is going to have a lot of field goals, and maybe the Bills don't have a lot of those long sustained drives, but they're going to have enough. And I think that the Bills are going to win 24-23. Tyler Bass game winning field goal. I am with Micah on that. Absolutely.
That would be. I mean, he's already gotten his redemption, but that would be the ultimate redemption for
Oh
Tyler
my
Bass.
God. Yeah, that'd be Maslow's hierarchy of needs, self-actualization right there with Tyler Bass. That'd be incredible stuff.
Oh, by the
And
way,
we
guys,
don't-
I'm setting the over/under on Jawan Taylor false starts not called at 1.5.
Oh, over smashing it.
Can we abolish the false start penalty? Because both tackles for every single team false starts every single time. I think the tackles should be exempt. Anybody else, if you false start, is a penalty. I think that's the new rule.
I love that.
The rest clearly don't know what to do. Like they're just like they just
It's
guess
like what a
and
catch
throw
was in
one once a
2014.
game.
We don't know.
Yeah.
We just don't know.
It's crazy.
Yeah, speaking of tackles, their left tackle, I believe, was it Wayne Morris had to leave the game against Denver for a little while their rookie, I believe it's a rookie, Kingsley Suamataya. I'm butchering his name, but basically he didn't do so hot in the 2.5 quarters that he came in. He was basically overwhelmed. So I was listening to Locked On Chiefs trying to get a little behind the borders insight. They believe that Kingsley is kind of regressing in the short times that he's had at left tackle. But depending on how Morris is going to handle his injury, he's probably going to be able to play since he came back later in the game. But left tackle could be a concern for the Chiefs.
For sure.
Yeah, I think the key to this game for me, the one thing I didn't mention, and Joey mentioned it in our comments too. With the Mahomes, this is talking about specifically the called back interceptions in comparison to Allen being a turnover machine. But we mentioned it earlier about the Bills attacking the ball and going after turnovers and hunting them, especially this year.
If I'm not mistaken, someone might have dissected all of those, interceptions called back because of penalties. I think maybe it sounds like something that Bruce Nolan would have done or somebody else, but I think they dissected it to the point where it's only a minimal amount of those that were really interceptions that could have been interceptions that were called back on penalties.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He has 9 this year, though. He's been throwing them away this year. And I think that this defense is been very opportunistic. And I think that could be the key. 1 or 2 turnovers in this game is all the difference in the world. I think that's where the Bills make hay, and I think that's the key for Allen is he will keep this game. Especially, it could be the biggest blessing in disguise that he had that game that he had last week, because he will now have that film and have that thought in his head to not do it again this week and not take a chance like that against this team. So that's what I think the difference is. I think they turn over Mahomes, and I think Allen keeps it clean.
Do we expect some kind of they were talking about this on the GR Morning Show where, remember they did that ring around the rosy play that one time?
Oh my God!
The Chiefs, they get so confident to the point where they like to troll the other teams. I believe that they were speculating they might try to scheme up another deep shot for Xavier Worthy just to stick it to the Bills, because we traded the pick with Keon Coleman for them picking us, and we were all in our fear bunkers saying, well, what if Xavier Worthy turns out to be this big deep ball threat and Keon Coleman is only okay, but Keon Coleman's been coming on as of late, especially with Amari Cooper's help drawing away top coverage. But the fact, I'm not afraid of that, because like we've been saying, that they have Patrick Mahomes hasn't been himself, at least not his elite self this year, and he hasn't really been hitting Xavier Worthy on anything significant as far as a deep ball goes this year so far.
We'll see. There will be discourse if that happens, Mike. I'll be running to Twitter right for you if I see a 70-yard touchdown pass to Xavier Worthy. I'm coming to you, buddy. And I might bet on it, honestly, because that's a good idea. That's the longest reception or something like that. All right, guys. We paid the bills.
We did.
It's going to be fun. Enjoy it, Bills fans. It's going to be a fun Sunday. It's also my birthday, guys, on Sunday. So I would really love
Scorpio season, baby. That's fucking right.
Yes, sir. So it's going to be great. Shout out to Picasso's Pizza. Thank you, everybody, for joining around. Thank you for Joey in the comments for hopping along here this whole time, joining us for the whole ride. This trade never stops. Go Bills.